the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
This major news changes everything for the Chicago Bears. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, as you all know, all Chicago Bears players have now reported to training camp. The first day of practice is officially tomorrow. Once again, today we heard from head coach Ben Johnson. We heard from general manager Ryan Poles. We heard from QB1 and Caleb Williams. We even heard from new Chicago Bear Grady Jarrett as well. And as we all know, going into training camp, one thing that general manager and new head coach Ben Johnson really wanted to accomplish is open competition, right? They wanted to make sure that, this was a very competitive training camp. They want to make sure that they're putting the best 53-man roster going into this new season because they have expectations for themselves. And that expectation is not only to win the NFC North, but to really create a dynasty. That's one thing that Jaquan Brisker said in a recent interview is that new head coach Ben Johnson wants to create a dynasty here in Chicago. He wants to change the narrative that has been set over the last couple of years of basically being a poverty franchise, right? He wants to turn things around. And one way to do that is creating that very competitive environment early on in training camp. And there's a lot of different position groups along the Chicago Bears roster right now that are going to have a lot of competition. And one of those position groups is the left tackle spot. And I'll say it's a three-man race, according to Ben Johnson, between former third-round pick Karan Amagaji, most recently the second-round pick in Aji Trapillo, and obviously the returning left tackle in Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones has been the left tackle since 2022. But, the expectation is that he wasn't going to be ready for the start of training camp, right? He broke his leg last season, which was a season-ending injury. So the expectation is that, it was supposed to be a two-man race to start off training camp with Aji Trapillo and Karan Amagaji, which I thought was going to be a major advantage for those two young guys. But general manager Ryan Poles, while speaking to the media, dropped some massive news by indicating that Braxton Jones will be cleared and ready to start at the beginning of training camp. And this is obviously a huge development because, like Ben Johnson said, this is going to be a three-man race between Braxton Jones, Aji Trapillo, and Karan Amagaji. But he also made it very clear that this is also open competition. Each player will have a clean slate. Just because Braxton Jones was originally the starter for the Chicago Bears at that left tackle spot doesn't mean he will instantly be guaranteed that starting spot. Aji Trapillo and Karan Amagaji will also be provided or at least awarded the same opportunity to try to win that left tackle spot. So Bears fans, let's go ahead and break this down a little bit more because this is obviously a huge development that Braxton Jones is ready to go. But you have to understand that originally I thought that Braxton Jones, once healthy, was going to be almost like, hey, you're going to be the starter. And that's that, right? Just due to his experience. But Ben Johnson is trying to make sure that he has the best starting five out there to protect Caleb Williams, to really help not only Caleb Williams take to the next level, but the Chicago Bears offense takes the next level as well. Of course, you have Drew Dahlman, you have Joe Thuney, and you have Jonah Jackson and Darnell Wright. As the other starting four on this offensive line. The big question is who will win that left tackle job? First and foremost, when you look at Braxton Jones, once again, he has been the starter since 2022. But now you have to understand that he is now dealing with a different regime. That this is not the regime that drafted him. Obviously, he has to come in and improve himself once again. And no one is complaining or arguing that Braxton Jones is a really good athlete and could be beneficial with not only Dan Rochar, not only playing next to, Joe Thuney, but obviously having Ben Johnson as a play caller is going to make anyone better at the end of the day. The one big question mark for Braxton Jones that, Bears fans, including myself, have been complaining about since 2022 is his lack of power. And now, obviously, his durability has definitely dealt with multiple different injuries during his Chicago Bears career. But when he has been healthy, he has been a very, to me, good starting left tackle in the National Football League. Do I think the Chicago Bears can possibly get better? Absolutely. And that's where, the competition between Karan Amagaji and Ozzie Trapello come in as well, because the Chicago Bears believe that both Karan and Ozzie have the qualities and tools in place to maybe be able to be a better left tackle option for the Chicago Bears offensive line. And that's why, it is an open competition and Braxton Jones is not guaranteed the job. So once again, this is going to be a battle that we're going to keep a close eye on. At the moment, I think Braxton Jones' experience will be beneficial, but I am excited to see Karan Amagaji. I know a lot of people look at him and say, hey, his rookie season was terrible, but once again, he was dealt with a very crappy hand. That coaching staff that had no clue how to develop players and, really just threw him into the fire. And he was coming off an injury himself, right, dating back from his college days. But now he now has a full offseason under his belt. He's going to have a whole training camp under his belt as well. So I think he's going to put his best foot forward as well to try to win that left tackle job for the Chicago Bears offensive line. And then you look at Ozzie Trapello, the second round pick from the 2025 NFL draft, 6'8", very versatile. I think he's a very motivated young man right now, very athletic. I've heard that there's a lot of comparisons to, Kyle Long. And if that's the case, that gets me really excited. He is just a beast of a man. I know Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles and even offensive line coach Dan Rochar are excited to get him out there and see what he's able to do. And he also feels like he has a little advantage playing next to Joe Thuney, which also Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji will have that same opportunity playing next to Joe Thuney as well. So I think we're really not going to be able to decide who is really going to, separate themselves until, the pads come on. But until that, it's going to be a competition to keep a close eye on. I think at the moment, I'm still putting my money on Braxton Jones just due to that experience. But at the same time, Braxton Jones does have problem with bull rushers. And if you're looking at Ozzie Trapello and Karan Amagaji, if they can be just as good of an athlete as Braxton Jones, but to be able to have power to their game as well, I think that also puts them in the driver's seat. So right now I'm going to say Braxton Jones, but Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section on who you think will win the left tackle job for the Chicago Bears. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I also wanted to share what Caleb Williams had to say when he was speaking to the Chicago Bears media today. He was just talking about his expectations for this season. And to me, it really got me pumped up. So I just wanted to share with you guys on today's episode of Keek on the Mic. He made it very clear that one of his big goals this season is to become the first 4,000-yard Chicago Bears passer in history, right? We've never had a 4,000-yard passer. I'm talking about the quarterback position in Chicago Bears history, and everything is in place for Caleb Williams to accomplish that feat. He also said that him and Ben Johnson have a goal for him to complete 70% of his passes. I believe in his rookie year, he completed about 62.5% of his passes. So I think with, the improved offensive line, Ben Johnson as a play caller, and obviously with the weapons on the outside, I think that is a lofty goal, but I think it's a doable goal for Caleb Williams to complete 70% of his passes. Obviously, Caleb Williams looks motivated. It seems that him and Ben Johnson have a very good relationship, and I think that relationship can go a long way. If Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can click and really just figure things out in a hurry, this Chicago Bears team will be scary, not only this year, but for years to come. And that's obviously Ryan Poles and this organization's goal, is to obviously create a dynasty with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys go ahead and continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys. And as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic.